For some veterans, their time in the military defined their lives. For others, though, it was just one chapter in a long story.
Honor Flight helps them to reconnect with those years and share the memories with others doing exactly the same thing. News Center Maine's Don Kerrigan has the story of one Honor Flight Maine veteran, a friend of his, who was able to share the memories with his own daughter.
John Harris knows how to make the most of life. He doesn't just drive this old Model T, he's an avid antique car collector, a retired Maine business owner, and a volunteer in our town.
Must have been amazing to watch flight operations.
It was amazing, and I flew off of Forrestal several times.
He's also a veteran of the U.S. Navy.
I went to Navy OCS, went to serve on the USS Forrestal as a supply officer. In the Mediterranean, I had 1.5 cruises in the Mediterranean, then got off of Forrestal before it went to Vietnam and burned.
John says his roommate on the Forrestal stayed on the ship in Vietnam and lost his life. After 5 years in the Navy, John got out, but was quickly hired back as a civilian to work on supply needs in Washington. That's where daughter Heather was born. And 50-some years later, John is 85, and a friend had signed up for Honor Flight.
A friend of mine called and said, would I go as his escort? I said, certainly, so I put in an application. I got a call from Honor Flight saying, you're too old to be an escort. You can go as a veteran.
So he did, with daughter Heather, who was also a nurse, as his guardian escort.
I knew it was going to be a great experience, but I didn't understand how moving it would be and how organized Honor Flight has made this trip for the veterans and the escorts.
Visiting all the monuments and war memorials in D.C. became emotional for them, especially at the Vietnam Wall, filled with the names of those lost during John's own time in the service.
At the Vietnam Memorial, very moving, for my father had a friend on the wall, and I had never seen my dad at that wall honoring his friend. Very emotional. As
I said, it was pretty emotional being with other veterans as old as 100 years old on this amazing trip, reminiscing about our service and where we were at certain times and where were you when President Kennedy was shot. You know, I was at sea and others were on active duty all over the world.
Yeah. Then the big welcome home at the Portland Jetport, a weekend of remembering and of hearing words many veterans had never heard.
Everywhere we went, there were active duty servicemen thanking us for our service, young people thanking us for our service.
I really only have seen it in movies and in reading history books that the Vietnam veterans did not have a very honoring welcome home. And what Honor Flight did for these veterans is make up for a lot of the when they weren't welcome home in the beginning.
Making connections, rekindling memories, creating new ones. Overall, say John and Heather, an unforgettable time together.
And John, would you do it again if you had the chance?
Yes, I'd like to escort somebody, be 20 years younger.
In South Bristol, Don Kerrigan, News Center, Maine.
And Don tells us Heather Harris may also do it again. She is a nurse and says she has already told Honor Flight she is ready to travel with them again, maybe as part of the medical team. You can support these trips for Maine veterans by giving us a call or making a donation at honorflightmaine.org.